it's summertime here in Florida, and that means one thing for swimming pools: yellow algae. Now, yellow algae is super common, especially as we get rolling into summer. Get warmer weather, we get more sunlight, and all this attributes to less chlorine in the pool. And because of all of this, we need to filter more, and if we're still running winter filtration times, the pool isn't filtering enough. The easiest way to identify what it is, as opposed to something like a green algae, so we can see down the wall here, we have some color on the wall. Now, yellow algae typically behaves kind of dusty, and you should be able to see right there as I brush my hand over it, it just kind of dusts off the wall. So what exactly do we do to get rid of it? Step one, what do you need? Something to test your chemicals. A regular test strip like this, or something like a tailored test kit is ideal. You're gonna need something in order to clean your filter. Whether you have a DE filter or a cartridge filter, something like a spray nozzle is always gonna help you in order to get that thing as clean as possible. You're gonna want some kind of chlorine in order to shock the pool. To get rid of yellow algae, you're gonna have to get that chlorine level up above 20 parts per million, and if it's really bad, you're gonna need an algicide. And then lastly, obviously, you're gonna need a brush and a net. If you have a vacuum, that'll help you even more. You're gonna start by testing your chemistry. You're gonna look at the free chlorine, not the total chlorine reading. You're gonna wanna get free chlorine above 20 parts per million. While you're there, also check for cyanuric acid and adjust that to 30 or 50 parts per million if that's needed. Next, you're gonna vacuum, brush, and net the pool. This pool doesn't have a vacuum or a skimmer line, unfortunately, so it's just gonna get a twice over with the brush. Next, you're gonna wanna net off any leaves or seeds, because as those break down, that is gonna feed the algae as well. Now, when it comes to shocking a pool, the type of chlorine that you use really is dealer's choice. We went with granular chlorine in here today because frankly I don't have enough liquid in order to shock this pool. So keeping granular, something like a Cal Hypo, I wouldn't necessarily recommend a trichlor for a finish like this. If you have liquid, I definitely recommend it, and you can see what you need in order to shock your pool by checking out either the chlorine guide that we made here on YouTube or at drdeanspools.com/articles. You can go to the chlorine guide for swimming pools there as well. So after you've tested the water, found out exactly where your chlorine level's at, so you know how much chlorine you need to shock it, after you've brushed everything, if you've got a vacuum, after you've vacuumed everything, netted everything out, once you've done all that to the pool, the next thing to do is make sure you clean your filters. Remember, lack of sanitation and lack of filtration. You've solved the sanitation by shocking that pool, you need to fix the filtration issue. If you have a paper cartridge filter, like one of these bad boys, there should be bands going around on the fins of the paper cartridge. If those bands are starting to come apart, it's usually time that you need a new filter. Otherwise, you just need to get that spray nozzle onto a hose and clean that filter as best you can. If you have a DE filter, it's time to give it a backwash at this point. And if you haven't had a DE filter teardown for at least a year, you need to get a teardown performed as well. Once the filter's cleaned, you're going to put it back together and put your pump on for a 24-hour pump run. After that 24-hour period, you're going to pull and clean your filter again. If you have a DE filter, you don't necessarily need to backwash and recharge your filter again. They are much more powerful than these paper cartridge filters, so normally you don't need to do that. You only need to consider backwashing the DE filter if you have a severe case of yellow algae in the water. So, knowing how to eliminate yellow algae is only one part of the equation. Knowing how to eliminate is going to be really important if you're a homeowner, if you're a service center, or whatever you do. Something to also keep in mind though is how we can prevent yellow algae from becoming a problem in the first place. Now, absolutely every single pool will experience yellow algae or mustard algae, especially as we get into the heat in the summer months. It's like April in Florida. I think today it's like 90 something degrees. The heat is a breeding ground for algae, and these pools are outside, and algae is a plant. Algae grows everywhere, so it's just part of having a pool. It's really not that big a deal as long as you know how to get rid of it. But there are some things that you can do in order to help prevent getting problematic amounts of yellow algae. Why don't we take this back into the office and I'll wrap this up. So, back in the office now. There are a lot of things that you can do to help prevent mustard algae from becoming a problem in your swimming pool. Now, the top of my list of things that you can do is to test your chemistry weekly. Make sure that you've always got a residual level of free chlorine, not total chlorine. We don't care about that. You want to make sure that you still got free chlorine in the pool, and to help keep that free chlorine in the pool, you're also going to want to make sure that your cyanuric acid level, also known as your stabilizer, is between 30 and 50 parts per million. Next, you're also going to make sure that you are maintaining your filter on a proper schedule. If you have a paper cartridge filter, when we get into the summer, really you're going to be cleaning that just about every week, if not once every 2 weeks. And if you have a DE filter, you're going to be looking doing that once every couple of months. Thirdly, you're going to want to up your pump run times. If you have a variable speed pump, you're also probably going to want to look at increasing the speeds of that as well. But if you're increasing your pump run times 2 to 4 hours, that's normally a good place to start with getting some more filtration during the summer. If you're running your pool 12 hours, 14 hours, sometimes that's just what it takes in Florida. Also, make sure that you're running that during the heat of the day. I know a lot of people seem to think that they can run the pool overnight, and you can, and it will get the filtration benefit, that's for sure, but we don't want still water during the middle of the day. Again, we're based in Orlando. Over the summer, it tends to get 90, 100 plus degrees, 90% humidity, lots and lots of rain. If we got stagnant water during the day, it's going to make algae more apt to grow. Flowing water is much harder for algae to grow in than stagnant water is. And the last thing is for you people out there with salt pools, please do not be afraid if you need to add liquid chlorine. A salt pool is still a chlorine pool. The only difference is that a salt pool generates its own chlorine. If we're still having low chlorine readings and you're reefing that thing to 100%, it's on super chlorinate all the time, you're running for 12 hours a day, you may have an undersized salt system, but also just to get you through the really tough months of summer where you may just need a little bit of extra chlorine to get you through, and that's totally okay. All right guys, well thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you feel inclined to, go ahead and share this wherever, and consider maybe subscribing for more of this content in the future. Catch you guys in the next one.